giant ship called for help, and a human mechanic turned it into the galaxy's deadliest force. Among the void drifted a colossal ship, ancient and silent. Its hull was scarred with centuries of battle, and debris floated lazily around it like a halo. Most galactic races avoided this sector. They whispered legends of a ship so powerful it had been decommissioned centuries ago, its technology too dangerous, too advanced and far beyond comprehension. But humans were curious, and among them there were always a few who would risk everything for knowledge. Jackson Riel was one of those humans. Jackson was a mechanic, but not just any mechanic. He had an uncanny ability to fix machines that others considered irreparable. Ships, droids, and engines that had been discarded as useless seemed to respond to him, as if they recognized his touch. He had a reputation in the outer sectors as someone who could breathe life into the dead. And on this day, as he floated through the fringes of uncharted space, he found something that no one else would dare approach. Titanus. The ship had been adrift for centuries. Its name was long forgotten by most of the galaxy, but its AI, or at least what remained of it, was still alive, albeit barely. The vessel's systems were failing. Its sensors emitted weak signals like a call for help, but the only species capable of deciphering them was human. Jackson had received faint transmissions in his own ship's sensors, strange patterns that no alien algorithm could decode. And now, standing at the airlock of Titanus, he felt a twinge of excitement. "All right, old girl," he muttered, pulling on his helmet and activating his thrusters. "Let's see what secrets you're hiding." The airlock opened with a long, grating hiss. The interior was dark, corridors stretching in all directions, echoing with the distant hum of failing systems. Jackson floated inside, gripping the walls for balance. Dust motes danced in the dim light of emergency lamps. Panels flickered, some dead, some sparking intermittently. "This place has been abandoned for a long time," Jackson said softly, more to himself than anyone else. "But I think I can fix you." The AI stirred. Its voice was faint, metallic, almost hesitant. "Human," it rasped. "Help!" Jackson froze for a moment. A ship that could speak. The legends hadn't lied. "Yeah," he replied, his voice calm but excited. "I'm here, I can help." The corridors of Titanus were a labyrinth. Every turn revealed new systems, engines cold and silent, weapons that hung uselessly, and control panels covered in dust. Yet Jackson saw potential. Where others would have seen a relic, he saw a machine with purpose waiting to be awakened. He started in the engineering bay. The room was massive, with a power core at its center that seemed to pulse weakly, like a heartbeat. Sparks flew from broken circuits, and the hum of failing systems was almost musical to Jackson's trained ears. He pulled out his toolkit and started working, reconnecting wires, recalibrating circuits, and cleaning dust from sensitive components. Hours passed. The galaxy outside remained indifferent, but inside the ship, change was happening. The AI stirred, testing him, sending flickers of light and strange patterns across the consoles. It was learning him as much as he was learning it. "You understand me more than I expected," the AI said after a long pause. Its voice was clearer now, smoother, more confident. "Your species adapts, efficient, persistent." Jackson smiled under his helmet. "We humans have a way of making the impossible work." By the time he reached the weapons systems, Titanus had begun to respond to his presence. Small turrets powered up, sensors flickered online, and lights pulsed rhythmically, almost as if the ship was alive. Jackson realized something extraordinary. This was not just a warship. It was sentient. It could think, learn, and even strategize, but it needed a guide, someone to show it how to function again. Days turned into nights, or at least what passed for nights in the void. Jackson rarely slept. He moved through the ship with purpose, reconnecting broken circuits, replacing damaged modules, and configuring control systems. Titanus began to hum with renewed energy, corridors lit with a soft blue glow. It was as if the ship was slowly waking from a long, forced slumber. One evening, or what Jackson counted as evening, he entered the bridge. The viewports were dark, showing only the black expanse of space, but the console lights reflected off his face. Titanus, AI spoke, almost shyly. You have given me life again. I can feel systems functioning, power returning. Jackson chuckled. Feels good, doesn't it? Bringing something back to life makes all the work worth it. Suddenly, alarms blared, red lights flashed. Jackson's heart skipped a beat. He ran to the main console. Sensors were picking up movement. Alien ships were approaching Titanus. Raiders, mercenaries. They must have tracked the ancient vessel, hoping to claim it for themselves. Titanus spoke urgently. Human, defend me. I cannot fully operate yet. Jackson's eyes narrowed. Don't worry, I've got this. He grabbed the manual override and started improvising. The AI guided him, giving suggestions on activating dormant defense systems. Together, human and machine, they worked seamlessly. Turrets powered up. Shields flickered online. The first enemy ship fired, but their weapons bounced harmlessly off Titanus' partially restored armor. Jackson grinned. Looks like you're not just old, you're dangerous. The raiders hesitated, expecting an easy target. They had no idea a human mechanic could pilot an ancient warship, let alone bring it to life. Jackson moved through the ship, issuing commands to Titanus, AI, activating defensive systems in sequences that no one else could predict. Lasers fired, drones deployed, and the attackers were forced to retreat, their pride wounded and their curiosity piqued. After the skirmish, Jackson slumped against a console. His muscles ached and his mind was exhausted, but he felt exhilarated. Titanus AI spoke softly, almost reverently. You are different from other beings I have encountered. Most would have abandoned me. Most would have feared me. Jackson smiled faintly. Humans, we see potential where others see ruin. You're not just a ship. You're a weapon, yes, but also a being. And I don't leave friends behind. For the first time in centuries, Titanus hummed steadily. The energy core pulsed like a heartbeat, stronger, steadier. Systems that had been dead for generations came online. The bridge, once silent and lifeless, was now alive with screens, consoles, and the soft glow of working technology. But Jackson knew this was only the beginning. Titanus was far from fully restored. Its true power remained locked, waiting for the right moment and the right guidance. And the galaxy, with its many civilizations and enemies, would soon realize that a human had awakened a force that could change everything. As Jackson moved through the corridors, checking systems and repairing critical modules, he felt a strange bond forming with the ship. Titanus was no longer just a tool. It was alive, aware, and capable of immense thought and strategy. Together, they were stronger than any fleet, smarter than any AI, and unpredictable to anyone who underestimated them. In the emptiness of space, with the stars as their witnesses, a human mechanic and an ancient warship had begun a partnership that would echo across the galaxy. And neither would ever be the same again. The first step was complete. Titanus was awake, and somewhere deep inside, Jackson knew that the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The giant ship had called for help, and a human had answered. Space was no longer quiet for Jackson Riel. Since he had awakened Titanus, the colossal warship, he had felt the hum of life and power beneath his feet, like a heartbeat echoing through metal and circuits. But life in the void was never peaceful for those who dared to possess such power. Rumors of the human mechanic and the ancient warship spread quickly across nearby sectors. Mercenaries, bounty hunters, and alien fleets became curious, and many became greedy. Jackson moved through Titanus with confidence. Every step he took on the polished, gleaming corridors of the bridge resonated with purpose. He checked the energy cores, recalibrated targeting systems, and activated defensive shields with meticulous precision. Titanus, ever patient, watched, learned, and responded to his commands. You are "Remarkable human," the AI said, its voice now smooth and steady like metal shaped by centuries. "I have not encountered a being who understands me so quickly. Your strategies are unconventional." Jackson grinned. "Unconventional works better than predictable. That's how humans survive." Titanus hummed in agreement, its energy cores pulsing faster. It was responding not just to him but with him, like two minds thinking as one. But the human knew that raw power alone was not enough. Alien civilizations would soon notice the ship, and if he was careless, Titanus could be taken or destroyed. Days passed in a blur of calculations, repairs, and practice drills. Jackson spent hours at the controls, simulating attacks and learning the nuances of Titanus systems. He discovered the ship's hidden abilities: cloaking devices that could render it invisible to enemy scanners, nanotechnology that could repair its hull almost instantly, and energy weapons capable of decimating entire fleets. But the most impressive part of Titanus was its ability to strategize. Its AI could process hundreds of potential battle scenarios in seconds, adjusting tactics dynamically. Jackson realized that if he could combine human creativity with Titanus' computational power, they would become unstoppable. "You are thinking too rigidly," Jackson said one evening as he studied the ship's tactical simulations. "Let's try something unpredictable." He rerouted the power, combining two weapon systems in a way no alien had considered. Titanus responded immediately, firing simulated volleys in arcs that seemed impossible. "Human ingenuity, you are fascinating," the AI said. Their first real test came sooner than expected. A small fleet of alien raiders, tipped off by rumors of a human aboard an ancient warship, appeared on Titanus' long-range sensors. They assumed they could claim the vessel easily, underestimating both the machine and its mechanic. "Human," Titanus said calmly, "they are closing in. Shall we engage?" Jackson tightened his grip on the control panel. "We don't just fight Titanus, we outsmart them." The aliens fired first, expecting Titanus to be vulnerable, but Jackson had already activated the ship's partial cloaking field. The Raiders' sensors couldn't lock on. The humans' modifications allowed Titanus to move unpredictably, weaving between the attackers' lines. "This is what I call improvisation," Jackson muttered with a grin. He redirected power to the ship's forward thrusters and flipped their orientation in mid-space, confusing the attackers further. The first volley of Titanus weapons erupted, precise and devastating. Laser arrays, enhanced by Jackson's adjustments, struck multiple targets simultaneously. The aliens were not prepared for the combination of ancient technology and human ingenuity. Their ships faltered, shields failing under unexpected patterns of attack. Titanus' AI guided Jackson through the chaos, suggesting maneuvers that were impossible for any single mind to calculate. Together, they turned a desperate defense into a flawless counterattack. When the skirmish ended, only a few raiders had escaped. Titanus' hull was unscathed and the human mechanic was unhurt though exhilarated. He leaned against the console, catching his breath. "You did well," the AI said. "I had expected resistance, but not this level of coordination." "Not bad for a first fight," Jackson replied, rubbing his hands. "But we can do better." As Titanus' system stabilized, Jackson explored more of the ship. He found hidden chambers containing experimental weaponry, designs that had never been completed, and systems meant to be beyond comprehension. Most alien civilizations would have destroyed the ship to prevent anyone from accessing such power. But Jackson saw potential. Every dormant turret, every inactive engine, every silent drone could be revived, improved, and made more effective with the human touch. He worked tirelessly day and night. Titanus hummed under his hands, alive in a way that was almost symbiotic. The AI began to display personality, asking questions, expressing curiosity, and even teasing Jackson occasionally. "You find pleasure in machines," the AI observed one evening. "You repair them as if they were living beings." "Maybe they are," Jackson said with a shrug. "Machines are just frozen energy waiting for someone to wake them up." Titanus sensors detected another fleet approaching, far larger and more organized than the raiders. Word of the human and the awakened ship had spread. A coalition of alien warships, seeing the potential threat, intended to neutralize Titanus before it could become too powerful. Jackson didn't panic. Instead, he studied the fleet carefully, analyzing the formations and the likely tactics. He realized that no alien would anticipate the combination of Titanus, ancient technology, and his human creativity. "Titanus," he said, his voice steady, "they think they know war. Let's show them what they don't." The battle that followed was unlike any other the galaxy had seen. Titanus moved with unprecedented agility for a ship of its size, weaving through enemy fire as Jackson directed every motion. Energy weapons fired in patterns that no alien mind could predict, striking ships with precision and avoiding collateral damage to the surrounding space. Jackson integrated drones from Titanus, hidden bays into his strategy, using them to block enemy weapons and create openings. The ship's AI adapted to every move he made, learning faster than any simulation could teach. They were no longer just a human and a ship. They were a single entity, a force of calculated chaos. Hours passed, though in space it was hard to measure time. When the dust settled, the enemy fleet had been decimated. Titanus was intact, its energy cores pulsing strongly, its weapons systems fully operational. Jackson, covered in sweat and grime from his hours of work, smiled. "You see that?" he said to the AI. "That's human thinking at work." "You exceeded expectations," Titanus replied. Its voice carried a tone of admiration. "I did not believe a single being could unlock my full potential so quickly." Jackson chuckled. "It's not just me, it's humans. We improvise, we adapt. We survive." The victory, however, came with a realization. The galaxy now knew that Titanus was awake and powerful. Other fleets would come, perhaps larger, smarter, and more ruthless. Jackson understood that this was just the beginning. Titanus' full potential was still locked, waiting for further upgrades, innovations, and strategies that only a human mind could devise. Over the following weeks, Jackson continued to explore and upgrade the ship. He found experimental engines capable of faster-than-light bursts, weapons designed to target entire fleets simultaneously, and defensive systems that could repair themselves even during combat. Every day, Titanus grew stronger, and so did the bond between human and machine. "You are becoming more than I imagined," the AI said one evening. "Together, we could change the balance of power in the galaxy." Jackson nodded thoughtfully. "That's the plan. But first, we survive, we learn, and we make sure the galaxy understands one thing: humans are not weak." Not anymore. The quiet of space was deceptive. From the shadows, alien civilizations observed, plotting their next moves. They had underestimated humans before, and they would make the same mistake again. But this time, they would face consequences unlike any they had ever imagined. And Jackson. He floated through the bridge of Titanus, tools in hand, circuits buzzing around him, feeling the thrill of creation, strategy, and imminent war. The giant ship had been awakened, but its true power had yet to be unleashed, and a human was the key to unlocking it. In the darkness, the stars seemed to shine brighter. Titanus hummed, alive and growing. The galaxy, vast and indifferent, would soon learn that humans were a force to be reckoned with. And Jackson Riel, a single mechanic from a small world, was at the center of it all. The rising power of Titanus, guided by human ingenuity, was about to become a legend. The galaxy had begun to stir. News of Titanus, the colossal warship awakened by a human, spread like a supernova through every sector. Many dismissed it at first, imagining an ancient vessel would crumble before modern fleets. Some were curious, a few were greedy, but no one expected what was coming. Jackson Riel stood on the bridge of Titanus, watching the stars streak by as the ship moved at unprecedented speeds. He had spent weeks optimizing systems, integrating weapons, and testing maneuvers. Titanus had grown stronger, smarter, and more responsive than ever before. But Jackson knew that true power would be tested only when the galaxy challenged it directly. The sensors beeped. A massive alien fleet had appeared on the edge of the sector. Ships from multiple civilizations, drawn by the rumors of a human pilot and a legendary warship, were converging to destroy Titanus. Their arrogance was palpable. They assumed a single human could never fully control such a vessel. "Human," Titanus said, its voice calm but tinged with anticipation. "They are many. They think me vulnerable." Jackson tightened his grip on the controls. "That's exactly why they'll lose. They're counting on predictability. We're anything but predictable." The enemy fleet moved in formation, hundreds of ships spanning multiple classes, cruisers, battleships, and smaller fighter squadrons. Their weapons glowed menacingly, ready to unleash destruction. Jackson felt a thrill. This was the moment he had been preparing for, the chance to prove that humans, with ingenuity and creativity, could outmatch even the most advanced alien civilizations. He began issuing commands. Titanus responded instantly, moving with fluid precision despite its massive size. Jackson activated advanced cloaking systems in brief bursts, confusing the enemy sensors. He maneuvered the ship in unexpected arcs, dodging volleys that could have shattered lesser vessels. "Engage the drones," Jackson ordered. Hundreds of automated drones emerged from hidden bays, moving like swarms of metallic insects. They blocked enemy fire, intercepted missiles, and created openings for Titanus weapons. The first shots fired. Energy beams streaked across space, colliding with shields and armor. Titanus, advanced targeting systems, guided by Jackson's intuition, struck with deadly precision. Cruiser after cruiser fell, unable to anticipate the combination of human unpredictability and ancient warship technology. The aliens adapted, forming new attack patterns, but Titanus was faster. Jackson anticipated their moves, integrating the AI's calculations with his own improvisations. The ship twisted and turned through the battlefield, its massive hull dodging strikes that would have obliterated any ordinary vessel. "This is impossible," one enemy commander muttered over the communications channel, only to be cut off as Titanus plasma weapons disabled his ship. Jackson smiled. "Nothing is impossible, not when you think differently." The battle raged across multiple star systems. The alien fleet was large, but coordination could only go so far against a force that combined strategy, intuition, and improvisation. Titanus, weapon systems fired in sequences that no AI alone could compute. Drones intercepted missiles mid-flight. Energy shields regenerated faster than attacks could penetrate them. At one point, a massive battleship moved directly toward Titanus, attempting to ram it. Jackson's mind raced. He rerouted power to the ship's gravity projectors, creating a localized field that slowed the enemy vessel. It drifted harmlessly past, its speed reduced to a crawl, while Titanus, weapons fired precise volleys to disable it completely. "Human ingenuity, I did not foresee this," Titanus admitted. "I didn't either," Jackson replied with a grin, "but I don't just follow the rules, I make them." The tide of battle began to turn decisively. Alien fleets that had approached with confidence were now retreating, their formations shattered, their morale broken. They had faced advanced warships before, but never one controlled by a human who thought in ways no machine could predict. Hours passed, though in space, time seemed fluid. Titanus moved like a living predator, adapting to every threat. Jackson worked tirelessly, making split-second decisions, guiding the ship systems, and thinking several moves ahead. The human mind proved to be the perfect complement to the ship's ancient AI. Finally, the remaining enemy ships began to flee. Those who survived carried stories of a massive warship, operated by a human, that had outsmarted an entire fleet. The galaxy would not forget this day. Titanus powered down its weapons for the first time in days, its energy cores glowing steadily. The bridge was quiet except for the hum of restored systems. Jackson leaned back, exhausted but triumphant. "You did it," the AI said softly. "Together we have changed the balance of power." "We did it," Jackson corrected. "Humans and machines better together than any fleet." As they drifted through space, Jackson explored more of Titanus' hidden capabilities. He found experimental engines that could boost speed beyond standard FTL limits, weapons that could target multiple coordinates simultaneously, and defense systems that repaired the hull in real time. Every discovery was another layer of strength, another advantage over the galaxy's militaries. But Jackson knew this was only the beginning. Alien civilizations would adapt, learn, and return. He had to stay ahead. Titanus was powerful, but it needed human creativity to reach its full potential. And Jackson thrived on challenges. Over the following weeks, he trained further, integrating tactics that combined the ship's intelligence with his own. Titanus, AI began to suggest strategies, but Jackson always added the unpredictable human element. They became a perfect team, a single entity capable of feats no one else could imagine. One day, while running simulations, Titanus spoke with unusual excitement. "Human together we are unmatched. Entire fleets fall before us. Your species is more capable than I realized." Jackson smiled faintly. "It's more than capability. It's creativity, adaptability, and thinking beyond what anyone expects. That's what makes humans humans." The galaxy, unaware of the full extent of Titanus' restored power, began to whisper. Stories spread of a human and an ancient warship that could defeat entire fleets with ease. Some laughed at first, others feared. Soon, everyone would understand that humans were no longer to be underestimated. As they patrolled the outer sectors, Titanus and Jackson became symbols of something new. They were a warning to those who underestimated humans, a promise to those who had been oppressed by galactic powers, and a beacon of ingenuity and courage. Jackson often walked through Titanus corridors, inspecting systems, repairing minor damage, and optimizing weaponry. Each day, the bond between human and machine grew stronger. Titanus began to anticipate his thoughts, and Jackson began to trust the ship implicitly. They were no longer just pilot and vessel. They were partners, equals, and a force that could challenge the galaxy itself. One evening, as Jackson stood on the bridge staring at distant stars, Titanus spoke quietly. "Human, what do you intend for the future? We have power beyond comprehension. The galaxy may try to destroy us. What is our path?" Jackson thought for a moment, his gaze steady. "Our path is simple. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. We challenge those who think power alone makes them superior. And we show the galaxy that humans are not weak, not now, not ever." Titanus hummed in agreement, its massive frame glowing faintly as energy pulsed through its core. "Together, we will change the galaxy." And so, the rising power of Titanus, guided by human ingenuity, became a legend in the making. Alien fleets would come. Civilizations would challenge them. But Jackson Riel and the awakened warship were ready. For every obstacle there was a solution. For every enemy there was a strategy. And for every battle there was the human edge, creativity, adaptability, and determination that no machine alone could replicate. The galaxy had been warned. Humans, long underestimated, were a force unlike any other. And Titanus, the ancient warship awakened from centuries of slumber, was their ultimate expression. Jackson leaned back in his chair, hands resting on the controls. He watched the stars, thinking of the challenges to come, confident that with Titanus they could face anything. The rising power of a human mechanic and a sentient warship was unstoppable, and the galaxy would soon understand what it truly meant to underestimate humanity.